Hello, how's everybody doing tonight? Believe we are live. Looks like that might actually be the case. So, what am I doing tonight? I am making something for the shop because I realized that I made a bad purchase a while ago. So I'm going to correct my mistake um, by making something tonight. And we'll start on the table saw. See if you can figure out what it is that I'm making and why I'm making it. So I go all the way around the table saw here. I am going to remove the crosscut sled and get my jointing jig. And I'm going to try jointing this. At least that's the idea. All right, so rather than having to get out my jointer, which is way down there and have to heft it out and everything, I'm just going to use my little jointing jig here that allows me to do jointing on the table saw, at least to a degree. So I'll just tighten this guy down and tighten this guy down. So I'm just using some match fit hardware. And so these are both known straight edges. And so I need to bring my blade up high enough to cut through that. Okay. And then I want to move my fence over. Right there. And that's going to shave off a little bit right here. That should leave me a nice jointed edge. So I need to plug in the old table saw. Hey, Lawrence, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So I'll plug in the table saw, and I've got some eye protection, but I left my ear protection in the house. So let me go and grab my ear protection because I don't like to lose my hearing any more than I have to. So I'll be right back out. So I've got some Bluetooth headphones that I use. They're noise canceling and they work pretty well. I had some other ear protection out here a while ago, but I haven't seen it since the last time my daughter was helping me with or working on the lathe. I'm not blaming her, but I am. All right. So let's see how this works. Let me just double check that I've got, looks like I've got a little bit more play in there than I want. All right. Lock that down. and we'll joint that edge. Nice and jointed. All right, so now I can use that edge against my fence. I don't need the blade nearly as high now, and I don't need my jointing jig out. And getting the jointing jig out is much easier than getting out the jointer. One of these days, I'm going to build a stand for the planer and maybe the jointer together, but I haven't done that yet, so that's still to come. So I just want to take off a little bit here. So that's probably all I need. All right, jointed, ripped, and see how it's got this huge knot with a big crack going through it? I don't want that. So I'm going to cut right through it. But in order to do that, I want to be safe. So I'm going to use the crosscut sled that I previously removed. All right, and raise the blade back up now. And got my stop here that isn't really very necessary for this. And I'm just going to put my blade right on that. And move forward. All right, and you can see that that cracked right on the knot, so it took out a chunk there. I'm just going to remove the rest of that knot. On this side, it was fine, and mostly. It's got a little bit of chipping, but that knot mostly stayed in place, and I'm not going to force the rest of it out. But I am going to get rid of the rest of that knot, or at least most of it. All right. Okay, and let me get my ruler out here. Oh, hey, Cedar Grow Box, thanks for being here. Sounds like a DeWalt. Of course it does. Awesome little DeWalt. How are you guys doing tonight? So we've got about 3 1/4 inches right now, just under 3 1/4. So I am going to make a little bit of a dado right here for this guy to fit into. We'll do it on this face. But I need to reduce the height of my blade to right around there. All right, and let's see here. And so right now I'm just kind of estimating that dado. I'm not really that worried about it being exact. Maybe I should be. Let's see how that does. You may note that there's some ridges in there because I don't have a flat-toothed blade. And oh, that's close. That's pretty close. But I need to remove a little bit more material, maybe half a kerf's width. Let's try that much. Tiny bit more. So I was just trying to sneak up on it. And that's a little more loose than I wanted it to be. But it'll work. Anyone figure out what I'm making yet? All right, can you guys see that? All right, so let's bring you over to the drill press. Doo-doo-doo. Hey, Shoops. Choups. Am I saying that right? I always was thinking it was Shoop, but I think it's Shoup. But I could be wrong. So let me know in the chat box if I'm getting that wrong still. Let's see. I guess I can use the drill press vise here. Let's see. I'm gonna put I'm going to use a Forstner bit and drill out an inch. And I'm concerned about over here that if I drill it out, it's going to be wonky. I don't really like that there's this hole right there already, but I'm less concerned about that than I am on the other side. So I'll just tighten that down here. And I'll move that out of the way a little bit, and I'll get my 1 inch Forstner bit, I think. Yep. And let's see, am I doing that the right way? Yep. All right, and tighten this guy down. Okay. And I want that to be pretty far to the edge. Oh, you know what? I was going to, before I put that in there, I want to mark center. All right, so my total width here is just under 2 inches. So that should be pretty close to halfway. And I like to just, if I'm looking for middle for the center, I'll just mark it both ways, and then I know, I mean, that was pretty much right on. But if it's not, if I don't have the measurement right on, then I'll have two lines that are, close, and I'll know that I just need to go in the middle of those lines for my middle point. Okay, so that's probably about as far over as I need to be. And that gets me pretty much where I want to be. All right. You guys see that all right? Let me give you a little bit closer look. And how's that? And get some power here. And let's see how this does. That should be good. All right. Release that from the vise. And that should work. Do we have any guesses yet as to what this is? Oh, you know what? I think I might have been test fitting this on the opposite side. Yeah, that's going to be plenty tight. All right, get out ye old chisels and clean up those marks. We're just trying to smooth this out so it'll seat a little bit better. Almost doesn't need glue, but I think I'm going to yeah, there's a little bit of a lip right there that I'm just going to try. Remove. That's better. All right, let's see how that fits now. All right. Gonna shave off a little bit here and chip it out, of course. So that's what I do, I guess. Yeah, that should work well. So I'm gonna release it for now, and we'll go to the lathe. All right, let's see. Hey, Shops have been members for 9 months. That is incredible. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate it. And everyone's welcome to join as a member. You like the Shops? All right. All right. So let's move on to the lathe. So let me clear some room here. Get the lathe out and operational. And all right. There we go. And so I've got this piece of maple that I was working with the other day with Todd from LJ Woodworks. He gave me a little tutorial. And so hopefully I remember what he taught me. And let's see. Start with the continental gauge here and see if we can't get it down to about 1 inch. So it'll fit in the little hole that I made in this other workpiece. So 1 inch puts it right about there. So that's already there, but this has a little bit ways to go. So I'm not going to worry about over here. This doesn't need to be uniform with over here. I just need to make sure that over here gets down to 1 inch. And actually, let me try with the digital calipers and just see if those agree with. So that's 1 1/4. Right in the middle is about 1. On the end is 0.99. And in there is 0.91. So that pretty much does agree. And let me see if what I've set these to. I can, yep. So I've got it set to basically 0.98, which I am fine with. Just down there, set that down there. I need to plug this guy in so that I have power. Power has been achieved. All right, so I need to lower this a fair amount, I think. All right, that's as low as it'll let me go without, because of the design of this lathe, won't let me go any lower unless I scoot it out more. So let me just try it where it's at and see if it'll work. And if not, I'm going to need to scoot this whole tool rest out a little bit, because otherwise this piece right here is stuck on my bed. So on the lathe bed, not my bed, you know. All right, so who's figured out what it is that I'm making? All right, let's see where I'm at here. I think I still have a little bit to go, but not that far really. Pretty close. Okay. So the digital caliper is saying 1.03, 1.02, 1. So just about there. One 1.01. So close. I wanted a little under 1. Just a little bit. So I've got a little bit of room for glue. All right. Did I go too far? Probably. 0.98, 0.97. That is just about where I want it to be. So back that off. Here's what it looks like. And, well, you know what? I was going to sand it. Not that that's terribly important for this project, but as long as it's easy to sand, might as well do it, right? Let's see here. Got some and let's see, what else do I have here? I feel like I should have some other grits of sandpaper right there, but I don't. So just grab this here. This is 180. That's pretty smooth, except for down here, which I'm not too worried about that being smooth, because that's going to get glued in. All right. Back over here. All right, so it's not quite as tight as I wanted it to be. So I took off a little too much, but you know what? It's going to be all right. So, time for the glue. That's probably more glue than I should have put in there, but whatever. I'm going to make sure to have plenty of coverage here. And Make sure we're looking at the right end. I always forget to clear off the bristles. Try to remove any loose bristles until they start coming off in the glue. Then I remember. I think I'm going to put this stylish stuff facing out. Okay. And let me get my brad nailer on here. Make sure I've got some nails in place, which I do. Let's build up some air pressure. This does max PSI of 120. I think I have it set for around 110 right now. We'll see. Alright, so it's building up. Thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. All right. That is 90. 110. Approaching 120 there. There we go. All right. All right. Seems like it's holding pretty well. Let's move on to gluing up our other joint here. I'm hoping that the glue will help it to slide into place a little bit more than what it was doing in the dry fit. I don't want to have to force it too much and break things. Especially don't want to break off this lower piece of the dado below this dado cut. Hoping that stays intact. And I selected this piece of wood. So the maple I had already been working on it before I thought of the need for this project. It was already on the lathe, and I was like, oh, I can just keep working that on the lathe. It won't take much longer, and it'll be all done. This other piece, I just looked in the scrap pile, said, oh, that should work. All right. Make sure we have this face in the right direction. Uh, it doesn't quite want to go in. And that glue is not really making it any smoother. So, of course, I'm going to add more. I think the glue that I put on is already getting a little too tacky. So, let's see if this will work. There we go. Over there, that looks great. On the other side, there's a bit of a gap that I am not going to worry about very much. I probably should have chiseled out a little bit more over here. Maybe that's my problem. Yeah. Yeah, probably. All right. But overall, I think that's working pretty well. Now the big question, did I make enough room there? What's my distance? Ooh, 1 3/4. That might be too tight. That might be too tight. I might have had to remove too much material from this guy. Can you tell what it is? Hey, Roy, thanks for being here. Don't usually see this live. Here we are, all live. All right, so here's what it is. I got some shop towel rolls. In the past, instead of rolls like that, I've gotten big old refills for this guy. But refills have not been available, and I don't know when they're going to start being available. And that led me to do some price comparisons. And the shop towels from Costco were less expensive. So thought, why not Try something different. Looks like that's going to be plenty of room. All right, good. With that determined, now I can mount this thing. Actually, before I mount it, even though this was a really tight joint already, I'm going to put a couple of brads in there. There we go. Just in case. All right. So let me put the chisel away. And we can turn our attention to removing that and mounting that in its place. So it'll actually end up taking a lot less room. I mean, not a lot less, but less anyway. All right. Then I need Phillips head. I'll just use the yield impact driver. Yeah, looks like that wasn't really in the stud. Yeah, come on. Looks like that wasn't either. Or maybe it's just that there's very little going into the stud there. There we go. All right. So then we mount this guy. Let's see. Probably right around there. Okay. So I'm going to start with drilling some holes through this guy, just a couple. Let me find some scrap here to drill into. So probably use this. Now I've done myself a bit of a disservice by having the this piece already placed, but I was going to have that in place anyway before I put the screws through, so I figure it's not really that big of a deal. So I'll just come at an angle just like I'll have to do with the screws anyway, but I think I'll actually do it from this angle because that's going to be easier, I think, when I'm actually mounting it. I was thinking to do one from this angle and one from that angle. That's probably a better way to do it, but whatever. All right, I'm gonna get the drill. Very often, don't usually see this very often. Yeah. Look who is live. Yep, here I am in the flesh. Tried to sleep and failed. All right, so I'm just going to try to go as close to 90 as I can in this situation. Okay, and then up here, I want to kind of avoid the knot and everything there, so I'm going to come down here. Usually I'd like to go closer to the edge, but this isn't going to be a problem, I don't think. Okay, So I think I've got that countersunk well enough. So now the question is going to be, do I have those positioned in such a way that I can actually hit the stud? Probably not. We'll find out. All right, so right around there should be good. These are not going to be long enough, the screws that I used before, because those will only go so far. Let's see what else, what other screws I can use here. What else have I got? Oh, these could work, I think. These are a little bit longer. Will that actually get into the stud? Maybe a little bit. Maybe all that I need. Interesting. All right. Let's see if this will work. If needed, I could drill in a little bit for deeper on the countersink. But let's just go with right there. I think that's puts me pretty close to right in the middle of the stud. So let's try it. Should probably drill into the stud, but I'm not going to worry about it for now. Unless this doesn't work. Hey, that should be fine. And let's see, I've got lots of levels right there that are too long if I've got that up. So let's see. Whoa. And there we go. That should work. As long as this will actually go in to the stud, we should be fine. All right, I will call that, I think a success. Hooray! All right, 2:10 a.m. there. Yeah, a little bit after midnight here. And I actually completed a project. What do you know? So, does anyone want one of these? Not sure what the shipping is on that, but I don't need it anymore. And it also gives me more room over here for the tools I have on this little magnetic strip. Whereas before, I had it up higher, so those were less accessible. In addition to it being higher, it's obviously wider, so it was blocking things more. But now I have more access to that stuff. Not that I necessarily need more access, but I've got it. whether I need it or not. And all right, any questions, concerns, jokes? Go you, yeah, good change. I think so. That worked out all right. And it didn't take too terribly long. I think that was even under an hour, which might be a record for projects that I complete. I don't know if I've ever completed a project in less than an hour before. So put that up there. Got some garbage. Get rid of over here. We've got a tracking camera that's, hey, it is tracking. What do you know? Just didn't want to track a second ago. Let me turn off my air compressor and take off the brad nailer, put that away. Put the drill away, put the impact driver away, put the glue over there, and take out whatever I had left here. Wow, I had actually quite a bit more than I was expecting. So we can use that in the short term. And yeah, let me know if anybody wants this stuff. I just finished one that took almost 2 years. Well, I hope it wasn't a holder for your shop towels. I hope that didn't take you 2 years, Taz. Let's see, I'll just drop that over there for now. And throw this in the garbage. Put my block there away. Move this guy over here. Disconnect the power from the lathe. We'll put the lathe back into place after I prop him back up on his caster wheels. Oh. I mounted these wheels on the interior because I didn't want to have them jutting out and getting in the way. But one downside to doing it that way is that it does make it less stable to have the wheels so close together on the interior while you're trying to move the lathe around. So, oh, you know what I shouldn't have done? Move the lathe around with a lathe tool on the lathe. Not the smartest from yours truly. Get those lathe tools put away. We'll do a little bit of remove the power from the drill press. We'll vacuum up our lathe mess a little bit over here. Because you're always supposed to clean up after yourselves, kids. That's what responsible people do. Don't forget. It was not. Still haven't figured out where the towel should be. Yeah. Well, if you have a little bit of wall, Taz, you have a little bit of unoccupied wall. Here's I will allow you to copy me, but you don't have to. All right, probably I can take these. Oh, I don't know why I was trying to plug them on, turn off the power. All right, so I think, oh, I was supposed to reconnect this guy so that I know where he is the next time I need him. Okay. And I can clean up on the floor a little bit. Means I'm going to put my ear protection back on, but in the meantime, I'll remove my eye protection. Oh. All right, that's a little cleaner. And now I can move some of this stuff out of my way so that I can actually make it back into the house. Router table, table saw. I made this extension cord. Well, I didn't make this extension cord. I acquired this extension cord that I think is a 10 gauge. Probably didn't need to go that big. It probably would have been just fine with a 12 gauge. I wanted to definitely go higher than, or better than 14. Thicker than 14, I guess is maybe a better way to say it. But lower the blade, so I don't accidentally cut myself later. All right. What do you guys think? I think we're done for the night. So I guess I could vacuum over here a little, but I'll not worry about it right now. All right. Thanks everyone for being here. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Anyone who wants to be a member, feel free to join as a member. We appreciate that a lot. Thanks again to the Shouts, 9 months as members. Awesome. And always a plus not cutting yourself. That is how I look at it. Yes, I prefer not cutting myself. Tends to result in less blood, less pain, less cleanup. So I'm a big fan of not cutting myself. Good night, naked. I'm not sure if you type naked or if that's just the auto translate, but either way, good night, everybody. Have a good time. See you next time.